You're listening to Shut Up and Invest.
And what's up? We are now in Miami, live in the studio. And we got a special guest, Jay Money.
We definitely do, man. We got somebody that's going to give a lot of good knowledge today about some stuff that a lot of people are interested in, but don't really know how to do. So
9 years in the game, rocking, something that everybody has questions on. We have the short sale queen in the house. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself from Texas and let everybody know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. So Nicole Espinosa, Short Sale Queen. That's actually my company. We rebranded nationally. It's funny, when I met you, we had not even launched it yet. So I couldn't even post anything on social media, but it was a huge opportunity with Max Maxwell. And so I was like, I'm just going to do it. But yeah, so I've been doing this for 9 years and that's all I do. I'm a licensed agent and hyper-focused on short sales. We manage anywhere from 90 to 100 a month.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
So that's your niche. You found your niche.
My niche.
You're sticking to. That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Now, we met in Dallas, like you said.
Yeah.
Again, at the We Live. Me and Jay Money met in Dallas as well.
Both from
wow.
Miami. Never met each other.
You're like, we had to go all the way to Dallas. You gotta love how that works, right?
We met there too. So I was like,
That's
you know
awesome.
what? The short sale queen is in the house. I met her in Dallas. She's doing her thing. I was really impressed that you did have a niche, a specialty. It's so hard to get agents to think about it. And so any agents that are listening to the show, I really wanted you on.
Yeah.
Not only to talk about the short sale stuff from the investment side, obviously, being that we are on Shut Up and Invest.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of agents that are going to be listening to the show and they want to become specialists in different niches. So I want to talk about how you first started in the game and what made you make the decision, because you're doing what I think 99% of people need to do, and is become an expert in something.
Right.
Exactly.
And then you end up...
Not a generalist, a specialist.
Oh, I like
So,
that.
yeah, I like that too, man. So I'm also a licensed broker. And,
Awesome.
I came up doing REOs. So
Yeah.
I specialized in REOs from like 2007 till they disappeared. You know,
Until you couldn't specialize anymore.
But you can't do it that much right now. So.
Yeah, you got to adapt.
But I always would partner with short sale specialists because you guys did it's a different science
world.
to what you do,
100%.
to what we do, to what retail agents do. You know, and that's the
Yeah.
thing about being an agent. Find your little niche
Yep.
and stick to it. So
Why don't you break down what a short sale is for newbies and people that don't know what that is first?
Absolutely. So a short sale is where a homeowner owes more than the house is worth. Okay. So in order to qualify, they have to be upside down, owe more than the house is worth, and they have to have some type of financial hardship. So it could be loss of job, divorce. I mean, really anything. It's not hard to prove a financial hardship because unfortunately, most Americans do live paycheck to paycheck. So one thing happens and they can't catch up. It's like a domino effect. They miss one or two payments and then they start falling behind on everything else and they can't afford to do that. So within a short sale, when they are upside down, we get their lender to take the loss instead of them. So if they were to sell it to an investor or sell it online, they would have to come to closing with money. Well, if you can't even afford your mortgage, you can't afford to come to closing with $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 because of the late fees, interest, or whatever the situation is.
Right.
So we get their lenders to agree to accept less so that it allows them to sell the house and avoid foreclosure.
okay, one quick question I have people always ask. So the main thing you said was their house, they have to owe more than it's worth, right?
Right. Because then there's nothing to negotiate.
So I can't go to like Kevin who has a house and he owes like 50% equity and try to get down more in a short sale. The bank won't do that.
No, I mean, back in the day, so you talk about REOs, back in the day, there weren't any guidelines. So most investors I talk to that have been in the game a while, they're like, yeah, we used to try to do our own short sales. And they were. I mean, I remember when I first started doing them, the investors like, no, I'll do it myself. Well, when the banks got smarter and smarter and really just started developing short sale departments, they're like, okay, we need a licensed agent involved to actually represent the homeowner to have their best interest. Because if someone's purchasing, they're not going to really worry about the client, right? Of course, investors are out to make money, obviously, right? We have to pay our bills and eat, but that's not really the best interest of the seller. So they required an agent, and then they also required a licensed appraisal or a BPO, which is a broker price opinion. So a third party basically to determine value and as is value. And so because of that, if they come back and they say, hey, say he had, like in your example, $100,000 and you want it for 50, they're going to come back and say, the value is closer to 90,000. He has equity. So in that case, that's why we determine up front that they don't have any equity.
Now, the person needs an agent to represent them in the transaction now,
Yes.
24/7, 100% of the
They'll
time.
require a listing agreement. They won't let you move forward without it.
Is that nationwide? Every
Nationwide,
bank?
any lender.
Right.
So it's not state specific. I mean, banks, Bank of America, Chase, they lend nationwide. So it's the same short sale department, just in different states.
Now, let's take it back for people to understand what usually or how do people usually end up upside down on a property? Because it's a lot more common than people think.
Yeah. And, you know, especially in the market that we just came off of, like right now, okay, so I'm going to say a hyper-local thing, right? So Texas specifically, we've thrived. Our market has thrived. So in a situation where it was a seller's market for so long, I remember at the time, like 2014, 2015, my broker was like, how are you so busy? He's like, this is a market where people are fighting for houses and you have short sales. So it is a very common misunderstanding. And honestly, as long as someone has a financial hardship, there's going to be a short sale. Because if you think about it, the people that become years behind because they're doing multiple loan modifications, that's all their equity.
Yes.
The bank, what the homeowners don't understand is that the bank is still charging them. So they think, oh, okay, I'm trying to work something out with my bank and I'm not paying. Well, the bank's not going to forgive what you're doing just because you're trying to work it out with them. So that keeps accruing. Well, not only that, but the people that have actually done loan modifications, the bank does not agree to take a loss. They just agree to make them current and restructure their loan. So it goes to the back of the loan, or they create a second lien depending on the type of loan it is.
Two things you said. First of all, loan modification. I want to get into that a little bit later. I just talked to Kevin.
Great
I
concept,
sent you a text a few days ago about that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think the market we're in now is the market that we were still in 2 years ago. Like you said, it was a seller's market. People don't realize that the market's turning.
Right.
You know, so
they don't do it until everybody talks about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, you know, me, you, Kevin, you know, being in it for so long, we've been through
The ups
a
and
down
downs.
market already.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're trying to do with a lot of these new investors is, look, you know, everybody's happy right now, but you got to be strategic and smart because this market turns immediately. You know?
And you would know because if your background is
everybody
REO,
else. Yeah.
the only reason why you're still here is because you adapted. You don't
Exactly.
adapt, you die in this industry.
I got into wholesaling by necessity because
Yeah.
REOs dried up.
Yeah.
My buyers were still there, but I couldn't
Right.
find them less. So I had to wholesale. But
So we have very similar backgrounds. I started in REO. And so I got in real estate by accident. Okay. This was not something that I woke up and I was like, this is my passion. Like I moved to Texas from Florida.
what part of Texas?
In Dallas.
Okay.
So I'm in the burbs, Frisco. So, but I moved to Texas and I was like, I need a job. So I started working at an REO brokerage and I got thrown into this chaos. And I was like, what is homeowners like? Where do I find this? Like Googling all this stuff. I mean, we were managing 100 to 150 a month that we were doing. So eventually, fast forward a year later, you know, I had the relationship with the asset managers. I was the one doing the assignments, like really overseeing people that were doing evictions, the utility. Like, so I was overseeing all of that.
It's a big business to run.
Oh,
I mean,
100%. It was horrible.
I got into it the same way. I got into it in 2007 and my broker, I actually found him. He was the number one REO broker in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And I found him, like, I'm going to go work for an REO broker, like thinking that's coming, but not really knowing, just kind of got lucky.
Yeah.
You know, like
But strategic.
a year later. It was strategic. I wanted to buy REOs.
Got it. Okay.
So that's what I went to work for. But people don't understand it's a management company too. If you're in the brokerage that does that, you're managing properties,
Yep.
you're dealing with invoices from banks that they don't pay you until they want to pay you.
And how many times did the utilities, if it's not within the certain time frame,
Oh,
you
my
had to pay it
goodness.
yourself?
You had to pay yourself.
Oh
So
my
like
gosh.
you put a lot of money out there waiting for banks to pay you back. You're
Yep.
running construction crews and pictures and winterizations if you're up north where we're from, you know?
Yeah,
So-
I remember
they're milking
Googling,
you guys for-
what is a winterization? Like, because she's like, make sure the property's winterized. I'm like, what?
Yeah, man.
You know?
Like, a
Now
lot
let's
of
break
busted
down
pipes.
what the difference is between an REO and a short sale for somebody it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another thing that people confuse all the time because bank is involved in both transactions.
Correct.
But an REO means that the homeowner already got foreclosed on. So the bank is the seller.
Correct.
So it's actually a much easier transaction.
It definitely
I
is.
mean, because it's very straightforward. With a short sale, the homeowner is still involved, but we're asking the bank to take the loss because they have the lien, but they're not the seller. And even though they try a lot to get into real estate, manipulate and dictate things. No, they're terrible. I'm like, you can't do this.
You're horrible at it.
Stop it. Stop trying. Do what you're good at, which sometimes you're not. So don't even try that. So it's one of those things where it's a lot harder because they don't have to take the loss. So everything's negotiable.
Yeah, most people always ask me, I'm going to stay away from REOs because it's hard to get a loan with them and this and that. And I said, actually, it's just the same exact process as a seller, except they're unemotional.
Right.
It's just cut and dry. This is the price.
It's pretty basic. I mean, even if you work the asset managers a lot, you kind of know. We kind of know what they're going to take.
Right.
You know, if you're working with them.
Well, we know the background of it. And so that honestly was such a huge, like, fundamental part of my career because I learned the ins and outs of how the banks worked and operated. And I just knew when I quit, I got licensed, I was like, I don't want to work for the banks anymore because it was hard. Like, we were kicking people out and like to see the pictures of like the families are having to show up. You know what I'm talking about? And a part of me was just like, okay, there just wasn't any information out of options, right? I mean, you guys, especially in Florida, like people were just leaving because they were scared that they were getting foreclosed on. And the professionals had no idea how to really help them because there was so much misinformation about short sales. They were just like, oh, they don't work. Like my first short sale.
That was a lot of information.
I mean, even to this day, I have investors that are like, I don't mess with short sales because they're a waste of time. I'm like, well, if that was the truth, I'm not arguing with you, but I wouldn't be able to pay my bills because I can't get paid unless I close. Amen. So if that was really, the proof is in the pudding, right? I'm still here 9 years later. So obviously we're doing something right. But I mean, I agree for the most part, it can be a waste of time if the agent doesn't know the process because the agent is really the one determining the success. If they're in the ones control of the negotiations, they're the ones that are in direct contact with the lender. And if they are not facilitating the process correctly, submitting the right paperwork, knowing how to move it along, the homeowner gets foreclosed on. And that's
one thing with me. Whenever there was a short sale we would offer on, I'd always ask the agent first, how many of these have you closed?
Yeah.
Have you talked to the bank yet? Because there used to be a lot of time they put the property on the market.
They still do.
Haven't even talked to the bank yet.
Yeah.
You know, but if a price.
Well, they got excited. I got a listing agreement. Awesome.
So it's very, very like when you find someone who actually specializes in that.
Yeah.
Like your value is worth something, you know? So
Yeah.
like use people who specialize in things that will help you out a lot longer. If you have buyers looking to buy short sales, I'm going to partner with you if I have that because you know, I don't have the time, first of all. And second of all, it's worth what you do every day to do that.
Well, I will tell you with what you're saying, a really great question to ask if for someone that has listed a short sale and you're trying to buy it off the MLS is this an approved price? Exactly. Because a lot of, like you said, a lot of agents just stick it on the market and it's a guessing game at that point. Like they're literally just saying, oh, I think the house is worth $100,000. So I'm just going to stick it on MLS. And it's a very good possibility that the bank comes back and says, hey, we're countering at $150,000. And so it's really important if they already have an approved price, then you know, okay, they know what the bank is willing to accept. So you'll know, hey, it's a more streamlined process.
That's a money item right now, Kevin.
You need to.
You gotta get it on the mic. That's money in the bank right there. Listen, if you're dealing with a short sale and it's not an approved price, do not run home and have a party because that may not be the price. You will come back and the bank will counter offer you. And sometimes it will kill the deal.
It will kill the deal. And I think that's how short sales get a bad rap, just like wholesaling anything. Because
100%.
when you deal with non-professionals, have bad experiences.
Just in our industry in general.
You feel like, realtors, we all get a bad rap because they've dealt with someone who's not professional.
Depends on who you're talking to, right? Because if it's an investor, they're like, oh, those realtors. And those realtors are like, oh, those investors. And you're like, okay, I've seen both of them. So
yeah.
Now, when you started 100% going hyper-focused on short sale, did you have already a bunch of business ready to go or did you have to start from scratch? Tell me a little bit about that.
Everything from scratch. So because I'm from Florida originally, I didn't know anybody in Dallas. And
born and raised where?
Born and raised Miami.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Here we go.
I'm so happy to be home. You guys have no idea. This has been a dream of mine just to be able to do business here. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, so when I moved to Texas, and I mentor agents too, or I did, I don't have time anymore, but I would tell them, they'd say, oh, well, I don't know how to get business. I'm like, I knew no one. So if you can do that from scratch, like anyone can do it, especially if you are raised in that city and you have relationships already. You had no sphere
of influence.
Nothing. I had absolutely nothing.
I did real estate in Michigan, got my license in Michigan. I lived in Michigan in that city for maybe 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And the first thing they say, write the names of the people at church, the family, your friends.
Anybody you've ever interacted with.
So there's no limits to where you're at. Just go out there. And if you're from that place, you can definitely do it.
So what'd you do?
For sure. So I I had just this bad stigma with foreclosures because I was like, I'm done. I'm doing this. I'm going to be a real estate agent. And man, it was I remember the first buyer I worked with, I was like, this is not for me. And it was funny. My first listing was a short sale.
Wow.
And I didn't know it. Obviously, I couldn't identify it. I was just like, you have to come to closing with like $30,000. And they're like, we don't have that. We're 3 months behind. And I'm like, okay. And I remember talking to the agents in my office and they were like, don't even waste your time. Walk away. The banks will not do short sales. And so I'm very solution oriented. Like that's how I think. Like I can't, don't come to me with a problem if you don't want me to fix it or at least try to fix it. Right. So I was just kind of like, okay, this is interesting. I already worked with the bank. So let me try to figure this out. And the first one was actually Aquin. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Aquin.
I'm dealing with it right now.
Yeah. And they were
Aquin the lender, by the way, for anybody that wants to know.
And actually they're one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing it for so long, I know exactly what they want. And they're actually the easiest because there's less people involved, but they're one of the pickiest. So if you're not sending the right thing, I mean, like if you literally aren't doing something as specific as writing NA on the boxes that aren't being applied, they'll kick it back. And so most agents are like, here you go. And hopefully the bank paperwork. Yeah, hopefully the bank will call me back.
Listen, if you're filling out that short sale package yourself and you're making the mistake not using the short sale queen, an A will get you somewhere. Empty boxes, nowhere.
So anyways, I just kind of, I remember I spent like an hour and a half on the phone with that rep.
This is your first one, right?
This is my first one. And he was probably so annoyed. He was like, what is this? But I was asking so many questions. My first one was 2011.
Okay.
And so anyways, I've been doing it ever since. I just started developing a process and I'm like, okay, this works. Let's add this. This doesn't work. Let's add this. And the best part of doing so many is you learn like so much from what you're able to, like for me, I just didn't take no for an answer. Like if they said no, I'm like, okay, I'm either talking to the wrong person or you don't have the capabilities of helping me. So you either don't want to because you're a jerk and you're lazy, or you just don't have the ability to. So I just figured out, and that's the problem is that most of the referrals I get are from agents as well. And they're like, the bank said no. I'm like, well, it doesn't work that way. The bank said no based off of something that you submitted, which means that you have to go a different direction.
We're grateful for those agents because believe me, a lot of deals that we don't do in this room is because somebody stopped and we don't stop. I had a deal.
That tenacity is so important.
A lot of taxes, dude. We got a tax lien off everything. It's like you got to just keep going until you find out the solution to it. There's always a solution.
Very much so.
One thing you said that I thought was super important to point out, after your first deal, you didn't have it perfected. You knew that you had to go back, tweak, create a system, create a checklist. You're still tweaking.
You still fail. If there's failures,
fail forward.
Deals that fell apart. Exactly.
That's it. Fail forward.
You didn't give up, which a lot of people, after they get I ran into a snag or an issue and this isn't for me and what a mission, and they give up and then go try something else. Let me go be a for sale by owner specialist, or let me go be a wholesaler, or it's like, I've talked to you in the period of 7 months. So you never make any progress though if you do that. Exactly. You've been a specialist 7 different things in 7 months. How do you specialize? Like
now, our reputation, especially realtors specifically, they're definitely known for that, like hopping around.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's just a lack of direction and, like you said, not willing to put in the work. Like, here's the thing. We can talk about the success, but what we should really be talking about more is the failures, right? And understanding that it's not about making, $1 million or whatever. Like in order to get there were nights where I was up till 2 a.m. figuring it out. Like same with you guys.
Kevin, we've been up to 4 a.m. for Kevin to get this GoPro to work.
Yeah, that's my point. But when you really want to make something happen,
you don't stop.
And most people do not have the tenacity or really the grit to be able to keep doing what it takes to get there.
2011 was your first short sale listing.
Yeah.
When or have you, let me not speak for you, have you reached the point, or when was that point where you felt like, you know what, this is my thing and I can say I'm the short sale queen, like I'm a specialist?
Well, I didn't ever say I was the short sale queen, just so I put that out there. I don't think I would have ever given myself a nickname. I kind of just embraced it because probably in 2000, since I've been doing it for a while, but it wasn't until 2013, 2014 that people on social media would be like, she's the short sale queen. Just ask her. And so after a while, I was like,
couple years basically.
So it was a couple years. I mean, but here's the thing though. I spent a year really like perfecting the process. And then I started teaching about it because when I was doing it, there wasn't short sale departments. And so most agents would walk away from it, or worse than walking away, giving bad information. And investors too. And investors still to this day don't understand the opportunity that they have. You guys are direct marketing to these homeowners. So you have the first access to these properties and you're walking away from them because they have no equity. And correct me if I'm wrong, which I know I'm not, but go ahead and do it anyway, is that marketing is expensive, direct marketing.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. Can we all agree on that? It's super expensive. So anytime you actually build rapport and you make a contact, you want to capitalize on that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how defeating is it when you're like, oh, I got them on board and oh, by the way, I got their payoff back and it's $75,000 higher.
Right.
So if you are already doing that and you make that relationship, buy it through a short sale, but most people only think one way.
Leads right now.
Right, that's it. They're wasting money. And you know what? Even if you don't want to buy it, we still pay for the lead.
So what you're saying right now is I get a lead, right? Not a lot of equity. I'm like, I don't really deal with these kind of leads. I call you up, you work it, we split the profit, what we do on it, we both get paid.
Absolutely.
You don't lose a lead. I mean, that's how you got to partner. That's what me and Kevin talking about, partner. If you don't know how to do something, find somebody who knows how to do it and partner with them. People are afraid to partner in things.
I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I can't do anything without my partners. Exactly. I would never be able to scale. Look, this business is a relationship business. So if you don't have an abundance mindset, you aren't going to go far. Exactly. You could be really good with your one deal a month or whatever. But if you actually want to scale and grow and really learn, right? I mean, you guys, like we talked about, we went to We Live to the wholesaling event with Max Maxwell. I mean, and it's so amazing to be able to talk to people that are doing the same thing and learn from each other. And the people that do have that mindset, they get it back tenfold.
How many in the pipe you have right now?
I don't know. Active files, we have about 95, and I have about 10 more that I'm bringing in that when I get back.
That's a lot, just so you guys
know.
A lot.
That is crazy. How many people on your team?
Because you're doing nationwide, right?
Nationwide. But right now although we launched nationwide, we're not in every market, right? Okay. So Florida is probably, sorry, just taking a picture and I take the worst candid photos.
The photographer's in the house.
I know, I always have my mouth open or anything, whatever. But anyways.
Action shots.
Action shots, yeah. So anyways, but right now where we are is Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. So a lot of areas in Houston and Texas. And then in Florida, we have some in Orlando. And then we just got into Miami. Cool.
We know a lot of guys. Do you know Propelio?
Yeah, I have a show in there.
Okay, awesome. I didn't know that. I was on Corey's show.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'll make sure to watch it. What's your show?
So we just, so I've been a guest on there several times, just talking about short sales and different topics related to that. But it's Real Estate Boss Babes with Elizabeth Austin.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
and we're also clients. We're clients too.
We're clients.
Yes.
So if you guys want to know more about that, reach out to us. Go to Shut Up Invest and you'll see our resources.
Yes. Propelio is awesome.
Corey's good. Ryan, all those guys, man. Good people.
Let me ask you a question. Give me if you were just starting in the business for a newbie, what would be your piece of advice?
For an investor or realtor?
Both.
Okay. So for a realtor, I would talk to everyone. I mean, honestly, people overthink things. It's actually really simple.
Overthink. So that she said, shut up and talk.
That's what you need to put the little thingy on.
Where's the money at?
Where's the money at? Stop overthinking and take action.
That's what it's
because people want to make it perfect. They want to have, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. No, just do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what my advice for a realtor. For an investor, I mean, I guess it could tie into both, right? Either way, if you're an investor or a realtor, get a mentor. I'm not talking, let me be really clear, because since I've been doing this a really long time, I've seen those gurus. I've seen the people that charge ridiculous. I'm not talking about that because you're not going to get value from that. Actually partner up with someone that's in the business and learn from them, because you are going to take so much value of the everyday things as a realtor or an investor. I mean, honestly, if I would have done it all over again, which I know that it's part of my story, right? My failures and my success, but it would have been a lot easier if I would have gotten over myself and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, really learn from people that have done 100 million, 200 million. I mean, now at this point in my career, I'm always in rooms with people that are way smarter than me because I can't even explain to you like how refreshing it is to be able to, and like real tactical things, right? Because once you get to a certain level, like you don't have time to have BS conversations. No. You're like, hey, how can I add value to you? And how can you add value to me? And so it's very reciprocal. So that's it. Take action and never be the smartest person in the room.
Now,
That's
if
really
you're an
nice.
investor trying to approach short sales and you're really looking at it from how do I make money, what are some of the tips and tricks and some of the pitfalls that they need to watch out for?
So I would never, as an investor, I wouldn't just focus on short sales in the sense of, targeting underwater leads or upside down leads. I had to stop saying underwater because of the hurricane. When we got into Houston, I was like, oh, is your property underwater? They're like, yes. I'm like, oh,
Like physically,
not
literally water.
So I had to stop mentally saying that. I'm like, oh, stop saying that, Nicole. So upside down. I would just use that, like I say, another tool in your toolbox. Right. Tool. So basically, if I was an investor, I would say, okay, every lead, think of a way to a solution. So if it's sub 2, if it's, a wrap, if it's, a short sell or, just the whole
just get
rent,
creative.
Something. Yes. So
Don't
like
take no for an answer.
Exactly. Understand your options on how to make the deal work. Right. And short sell is one of them. And so as far as, when an investor sends us over a lead, I partner with them and I'm like, okay, tell me everything that's wrong with the house, get me any repair bids so that we can present it to the bank and get the price down as low as possible, especially if the house needs to be repaired. Because if it does, at the end of the day, it has to come back at a price we can sell it at, which is the whole point. And if it is not able to finance, it's got to go to an investor anyway. So we want to be able to give them that opportunity since they're the one that sent it over to us and they have a relationship with the seller. So the seller wants, them to purchase
your process,
it.
Right? You partner with the actual investor who sends you the lead.
And I say partner loosely only because we don't have any type of agreement, but we are working together with that homeowner and we're representing the homeowner. So at the end of the day, we're always going to do what's best for the homeowner, but we're giving them the opportunity. They have the first right of refusal to buy the house.
Now, does the investor hand the file to you and you just work the file?
Yes. So as the investor, they're like, hey, I can't do anything with it. Here's the seller's contact information. I've told them that you're going to contact them and then that's it.
Again,
and
so
they get weekly updates.
You have a smart investor who knows this is not my specialty or my strong point.
And I don't have the time.
I don't have the time for me to focus on this right now.
Yeah.
Because I know I've done it before. I focus on trying to do a short sale by myself. It takes a lot of time. That whole hard.
And honestly, if I only had 1 or 2, I would never do it. Why do you think we scale so high? Because it is time consuming.
Very time
you
consuming.
spend 1 with Wells Fargo. I have 15 with Wells Fargo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it just makes sense.
I have a deal. And I remember when I met you, I was like, oh, I wish I would have met you like 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You know me now.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
And I'll walk you through the deal and then tell me if there's anything that, it took 60 days. I submitted it a couple weeks before we met. They did not have the agent door knocked. The person was underwater going into foreclosure. So right away it was, we got to submit to the bank and kind of get a feel for what price they want. So there was not a set price at the time. So they put it in a listing agreement.
Yeah.
The agent that I was mentoring who door knocked and got this lead was not a short sale specialist. So she had a local short sale specialist who ended up coming in and representing me as the buyer's agent at the time to get her involved. They submitted the package. We did an inspection on the property. We submitted it. The property truthfully didn't have that much wrong with it. Had septic tank issue a little bit, had some plumbing issues, paint, just cosmetic stuff, really.
Right.
No major stuff. But we pushed the inspection as much as we could. We submitted the package. Took about 60 days. They did a BPO. On Sunday, this just past Sunday, they came back with a number. I submitted at 100. If we don't have a number, let's lowball it as much as we can.
It doesn't matter in the beginning.
Right. ARV, which is after repair value, what you can sell it at on the open market was probably between 175, 180.
Okay.
They came back with after the BPO and they needed to net 135 and change. So let's talk about a little bit about what that means when the bank come back and says we need a certain number, that doesn't mean that that's the sales price.
Right.
You want to break that down a little bit?
Absolutely. So when they've determined their minimum net, that's what they walk away with at all costs. I mean, after all costs. So that means closing costs, commissions, anything that you're charging that would be a seller related cost. So that means that would probably put, at like 140. I mean, I have to do the numbers, but like 140 or something like that.
Yeah, after closing costs,
generally 8%.
At the time, 6%, realtor commission, everything. It came back like at 148 around that range.
So in the 140s. And if the ARV is, you said 180?
Yeah.
180. So that only leaves you about $40,000 spread.
Correct.
So, but here's the deal. So if the property doesn't have a ton of issues and you weren't able to provide, repair bids to that BPO agent to factor in, then they've already based off their minimum net on that report. So what you can do is get a copy of the report, request for them to give you a copy and see what they didn't include.
The BPO report.
BPO.
Okay.
Get a copy of it and see what they didn't include. Whatever they didn't include, like say they didn't include the plumbing. Say they didn't include whatever, then you can fight the value based off of that.
Hold on a second. Calling them right now. All right.
So BPO, which is broker price opinion.
Let me text them right now.
You're like, hold on a second, the podcast, hold on. I just got advice.
I remember back in the day, there used to be a huge market. Well, during the REO market, BPOs were like another side income.
It was. And, I hate BPOs.
No, I know. I hate them too because like, who did the BPO? Who's doing the BPO in this house? Because we would get, you get the pre-foreclosure where we know it's coming to us.
Yeah.
And the BPO would be sent out. And you'd be like, oh, crap, he's doing the BPO. We already know it's going to be a high price,
Well, I hate BPOs because of what you just said. It's like, it's so insignificant. It's like $50 that they're getting paid. They don't care. And yet I have to sell it at whatever price. And if it's not an as-is price, then I'm screwed. So they're just putting it together. They're trying to do like 5 or 6 as an agent.
Yeah, they're trying to do volume.
Yeah. And so we always talk to the appraisers or the BPO agents. And we always, that as part of our process to really educate them on everything that's going on, because I know they're going to be in the house for 0.2 seconds. So if that's the case, I want to make sure that you didn't miss this, and this, and try to be proactive.
BPO was like the pre-Zillow.
Yeah.
It really is.
It
really is. And I got my BPOR, which is a certification. So I know, whatever
what it takes.
Yeah. But BPOs are easier to challenge than appraisals.
Right.
Perfect.
So in this case, my agents were there and they did do that with the BPO. So I just asked them to get a copy of that report. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And so what we did on the deal is, so right now they're waiting for me to say yes. I submitted that contract assignable. I don't know if every lender allows that or not, but they have not said anything.
They're not going to until it gets down to approval. So the reason why you shouldn't even waste your time doing it, just because they don't address it right away, doesn't mean they're not going to address it, is because once the bank issues approval, it's going to be buyer specific. So that approval letter is going to have your company name. And if another back-end buyer comes in and closes on it, you're voiding the approval letter.
Right. So I got to double close on it.
Right. So the only way to wholesale a short sale is to either double close or do some creative way to where the back end buyer is the one submitting to the bank and you're charging the back end buyer.
Right. So
the easiest way to do is to double close. It's the easiest way.
I want to break down what the double close is, which is what we'll end up doing on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So double close is where you'll buy it directly from the bank. And generally that same day, you will be at another title company with the back end buyer and closing with another party.
Right.
Now, the very important thing to know is that the agent involved cannot be involved in the back end deal, because we all sign affidavits stating that, this is the highest and best and that, all of that. So I don't care what you do. That's your business. You're buying the house. You can do whatever you want with it. I just can't be involved because if I know there's a higher offer, I'm required to submit it. So I always we always have the double close at a different title company, and it's good for everyone involved anyway, just for liability purposes.
Right. Yeah. So
one thing that when short sales first started becoming big, like in 2009, 10, 11.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, I don't think you can do this anymore. A lot of guys were going to they were getting houses tied up for a short sale, and then they would sell it to an end buyer. They wouldn't double close, but they would tack on a ton of fees that would be paid to them on the HUD. And I think banks stopped allowing that to happen. But
that's another way of wholesaling.
Back in the day before the regs
you used to be able to charge a negotiation fee, which let's be real, the crap we go through, I hate them that they took it off.
Well, you could charge like 10, 15%, whatever you want, and they would pay it out.
Yep.
So they eliminate all that.
As things progressed, right, more guidelines were implemented, and like I said,
to protect the homeowner,
right? To protect the homeowner, and because the banks got smart, right? They're like, hey, if we remember, at the end of the day, the bank is outweighing at what point am I going to take a bigger loss? Am I going to take a bigger loss in a short sale or a foreclosure? And if the answer is in the short sale, they're going to want to foreclose. So that's how they determine, like, okay, I mean, yes, the banks are willing to do short sales because most of the time it is a better deal for them, because you don't know what, yes, they have to hire an attorney. I mean, especially in states like Florida where foreclosure takes forever, it's better for them to negotiate instead of drag it out and not get paid. Right.
Renovate it, get it up to par. So.
Yeah. And then not know how the seller left the condition, or, tying it up for years in litigation or whatever the situation is.
And the person making that determination is always the
investor.
For the bank?
Yes. Yeah. So asset managers are only for foreclosures. In this case, the investor who actually holds the note. So the difference is you have the bank where you have like Chase, right? And then you have the investor where Chase is servicing on behalf of. So the investor could be FHA, it could be a FHA loan, it could be a conventional loan. Those are the investors. So they're the ones that determine the guidelines for the sale.
And we'll get more into notes too. We're gonna do I do a lot of note stuff. So
awesome.
We're gonna do a lot of specific note, because that kind of trips people up. Whenever you say the word note, they're like, what is that? What is that?
Or investor, because they're like, wait, you're talking about me? Or someone else? I'm like, no.
But there's actually someone behind the bank that is the one making the decision on.
So I love when people are like, I hate Chase, or I hate whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, no, I think they all equally suck. I mean, there's not one specific bank that, I mean, maybe that day if you ask me, but, in general, but remember, they are going off of what the investor is stating. So
I think it's time for Smart Money segment, right?
Yeah, one more question before you go there. I'm all about tracking the market, how the market's moving.
Yeah.
Are you seeing an increase in short sales? Is it a decrease? Is it kind of staying the same? What are you seeing out there right now?
Increase. And I think in 2020, you're just going to see more and more because we came off this high of obviously market crash, right? If you didn't know that, you're not paying attention or just alive. But once we came out from that, and then everyone went crazy with the guidelines, right? The banks were super strict. Well, as the market increased significantly and it got better, they relaxed. And so we're seeing 100% loans again. Yeah, we're seeing not adjustable rates, but we're seeing 100% or 520 credit scores, 550. Yes. And so the more lenient you are, the higher the default, right? There's a reason why a 500 credit score should not get a house and not put anything into it, right?
Also modifications, right? People are reapplying for modifications multiple times now.
Yeah.
So you have this thing where they just keep passing the ball down.
And eventually the bank won't even accept it anymore, because once you do a modification, I think it's like 3 months, you can't even apply again. So in that 3 months, generally they're in foreclosure. So in the next year, I mean, I'm already seeing an increase from last year. The numbers are up significantly, but in the next year, I think that we're going to see a lot more short sales, a lot more foreclosures. And with a lot of them might even be new builds, because a lot of the new builds tried competing against the pre-owned sales in certain markets, and they were just letting people in houses for a couple $1,000.
2007, 2008, not as bad, but you see some of the same factors on a lower level, because back then you had
much lower level, hopefully.
But a correction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is healthy.
Which is good for investors.
Perfect. I'm waiting for the correction.
It's great. Yeah. It's great for investors, for sure.
Beautiful. All right, let's run through a few questions. A little speed round of questions. First thing that comes through your head.
Oh, gosh. I'm not good on the spot. No, you go first.
No, I'm a host.
And of course, they didn't tell me this, guys.
No one knows this.
You're the first. These are easy.
She is the first guest.
Okay, great. I get to set the bar, too. No pressure or anything.
These are easy.
Okay, go ahead.
If you can go back and start day one and broke again, what would be the first thing you do?
If I could go start in the industry?
Yeah.
I would have...
You're broke, no money.
What? Well, talking to people is free. So if I was broke, I would work under someone that, I would work for free, honestly. Even if I was broke, I would just go to a top producer and say, hey, give me an opportunity. I'll work for free, or I'll take a really small salary or whatever, and just put the work in and get the opportunity.
Beautiful. Biggest mistake you could change if you could go back in time?
There's so many of them. The biggest one, probably the most expensive, was when I was building my real estate team and I started paying a crap ton of money for leads and trying to turn myself into, basically other models, other real estate models. And I just want all of it back. I mean, I learned that I'm like, look, I can't, we can always learn from other people, but we have to customize it to our business, right? And who we are. And when you start to imitate, and it's great to learn nuggets from other people, right? But you have to take it as your own because people know when you're not being authentic. People know, we can sense it. Everyone's over it. We're over the BS. And anyways, but not to go on a tangent, but I would go back and I would not start paying for leads. I would have done what I did with my business because my business is 100% referral and go make those relationships and teach the agents how to do that too. Because it's not like they converted any of them.
Nice. Top investment goal right now in your current career.
Top investment goal. Yeah. So since I'm back in Florida, I want to buy a condo or something this year. And then that way I have a place in Miami and in Orlando to be able to Airbnb when I'm not here and have a place to come home and not pay for it.
Awesome. Cool.
I was actually just talking about that today. So that was easy.
Whoa. We'll be on the lookout for you.
Yes.
We'll be on the lookout
Obviously I have the great relationships already. So it's great.
Hey, the top tool you're currently using in your business right now, that number one tool.
Would be our software, Infusionsoft. How we are able to scale because we do weekly updates for all investors and all sellers. So we used to do it the hard way because I'm not a systems person, I'm a salesperson. Yeah. And so, that was the other thing, learning to take a step back and work on my business and not in it. Because I think we're all like next sale, next deal, right?
We're all hustlers. That's what we are.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're not, then you're not successful. Yeah. So Infusionsoft has been just a godsend because it's been one platform that we've been able to scale to where everybody's still getting the weekly updates, but we're not having to send the individual emails because that's such a crucial part of our business.
Yeah.
So really a database that you use.
You're saying updates like your sellers who you're in.
So it has like tags. So if you go into our software, it's so complicated, but, and I say that because I don't even know how to explain CRM, that to you. But this is like a CRM on crack because you do like tags and then the tags tell it what to do behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't set it up.
You set up a sequence kind of, right?
Right. And so every Monday at 11 o'clock, everybody gets an update. Like that's what you expect from us. And so we just go into the system and on each file, as we're working on it, we put the update in and then you get the email on Monday.
Yeah, it pulls from different fields. It pulls from it,
exactly. And so my office manager, shout out Stephanie, is freaking amazing. And I'm just like, hey, let's do this. And so she'll just create it. I mean, I don't know. She's freaking smart.
Yeah, me too.
No,
I got my Infusionsoft specialist too. And she just, I'm like, this is what I want. Cool.
Yeah, I'm like that. Make it happen, Like I have these great ideas and I'm like, but I don't know how to implement them. Can you help me? So
visualizer and the one who initiates it.
You have to have both.
And the very last one, being that we're in Miami, it's a good one. What's your disconnect?
In the beach. I mean, honestly, it's like growing up 45 minutes from a beach. I mean, I feel bad for my kids.
What do you do in Texas?
I don't. I mean, at the pool.
There's no disconnect.
Just the water. I mean, it's just there's a reason why most people, when you get massages and stuff, you like the waves or whatever. I mean, I could literally just sit there for a day. I mean, and it really is just disconnecting. And I didn't see the value in that until this last year because I would go so hard. I'm 100% in or 100% out. So it's great, but it's also, I would burn out so quickly, and really taking care of yourself is so important. It makes you a better leader, makes you better just in general. So that's what I do. I mean, if it's not the water, because I don't live here anymore, it's the pool. It's something that I can just honestly turn off my freaking phone because we want it to ring so bad. And then we're like, oh, by the way, can I just have 5 seconds just without this thing that's just always ringing? And I'm grateful for it, but you have to mentally just check out.
Your brain just gets fried.
That Friday after Thanksgiving is usually the best day.
No one calls.
No one calls.
They're all in a comatose from all that food they ate.
Yeah, and for us, Foreclosure Tuesday or so is the first Tuesday of every month in Texas. So a majority of our listings are in Texas right now. And so that's why I'm here this week because the chaos, so the referrals, it's just kind of like takes a little break these next couple of days and then, it'll pick right back up.
Back to the grind.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think you've definitely shared a bunch of things that everybody can take a little nugget from. How can people get in contact with you? I know we're using you for short sales from this point forward. So
awesome.
What about everybody else?
Well, you can email me. That's honestly the best way because that way it's always there. Nicole, Nicole, is your realtor at gmail.com. And you can also go to thessqueen.com.
Yeah. And you have a book now, right?
I do. Short Sales Uncensored.
Nice.
It's published it's been a year now. It's crazy.
Congratulations.
On Amazon.
It's on Amazon, and I just recorded the Audible, so that will be released next week.
Awesome.
And that will open, I mean, I know a lot more people will do that because I'm a tangible person. Like I'm paper to pen, but I get it. Like when you're in the car.
My friends
I love
like
it.
Audibles. I listen to stuff all the time.
I like both.
I still like opening the book and touching it. And
the problem with me is that I don't have time to sit down and crack open a book, but I'm in my car all day, every day.
No, I totally get it.
I run, so I'll do books during that. I don't pick up a book.
I agree with you. Like when I'm in the office, I'm always listening to podcasts because it's always, and it's what we feed our mind. But you're right. I love.
I try to get. That's why I wake up so early because I try to get like 10 minutes of a book first thing in the morning. I got 5 kids, so I wake up super early.
5 kids. Oh my gosh.
If I don't, and I wake up and the first thing I do is deal with them, my day shot. So
why should people pick up the book? What's in it that we didn't cover today?
So I mean, it's a lot, but it's the reason why I wrote it was because. I don't know if I said it on air or not, but I really wanted to spend time educating because there was so many misconceptions. And honestly, there's nothing out there still. I mean, it's 2019 and there still isn't anything concrete that tells you, hey, and I'm talking about like actual real content, not a short sale is blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And as a realtor, how many times do you go to classes and you're like, you did not teach me anything I can actually apply. Thanks for teaching me the dictionary version, like whatever. And so for me, it was like, I just wanted to put it out there. I talk about how to identify a short sale. I talk about the whole process so that you get a deep understanding of what we go through on our end. And the 3 motivating factors for these homeowners, breaking it down as an investor. It's a great read because you are already coming across these distressed sellers. And most people, they're like, oh, I don't, we think of a common sense perspective of, hey, they need me. But they're so in a different world. I mean, they truly are. And setting the expectations with these homeowners is everything. It'll make or break your deal. Like it really will. Definitely. And if you don't know what's motivating them, and I kind of really dive into that, then you could turn them off because you could be talking about money and they're like, I don't care about that. I need time. Or you could be talking about time and they're like, I don't care about that. I need something to compensate. So I go into detail with all that. And yeah, so I mean, it's definitely, it's good education. It's real content.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
I think it's a wrap. I think if you want to, we'll have the book, the links to the Amazon. We'll have your contact information. Everything will be in the show notes. You can find it on Shut Up and Invest. And that is a wrap.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate your time.
We're good. Done deal. Wrap.
Hey, thank you once again for listening to Shut Up and Invest. If you guys are motivated at the thought of continuing your real estate journey with us, then visit shutupandinvest.com. There you can join a community and take advantage of more free resources. And don't forget, please like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast so you're first to hear our new content every week. Most importantly, get active and don't forget to shut up and invest.